We are ready for you, Nathan. Are you here?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Nathan, where are you at? Are you in China right now?
Yeah, I'm in Guangzhou, so internet might be a little iffy, but if it gets iffy, I'll just turn off the video and hopefully that will stable it out.
Right on. You're coming across fine right now, so I think hopefully if it maintains, all should be well. So everyone joining us, this is Nathan Resnick, the founder of Sourcify. He knows everything, I would say, about sourcing products, especially in China, Vietnam, Asian countries, and avoiding tariffs. He's spoken on major news platforms on these topics. And Nathan, and so he can help you find sourcing, manufacturing and supply chains that are secure, working with the right and trusted manufacturers, maybe making sure that you're not making costly mistakes, maybe even overspending. And he works with tons of businesses to do just that, to find their new product, to find their next product, and find the right way to manufacture it. But Nathan, I'll let you take it away from here and continue. I'll gloating about yourself now.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate the introduction. I'll jump over and do a little screen share, but if people have questions throughout, feel free to ask. Like, I got the chat bar up here. For me, I love making these things, as interactive as possible. So if you guys have questions, feel free to dive in. But yeah, I mean, this is as real as it gets. I'm in Guangzhou, China. It is the Canton Fair going on right now. I think I've been going to the Canton Fair for like 6 or 7 years now. My background and how I got into this is I actually used to live in China in high school as a foreign exchange student. So I was living with a host family that didn't speak English, attending a local Chinese high school, and just became so fascinated by how products are produced. So 10 years ago, started importing my own products and ended up selling them on eBay and Amazon. And, in high school, I was making a few $1,000s a month online and realized, wow, there's really something to this e-commerce world. So I ended up launching and growing a few of my own brands through my time in university. And then about 2.5 years ago, started Sourcify. We've since become the fastest growing B2B manufacturing platform. Basically, what we do is try to take a software-driven approach with your supply chain and factories, making sure you understand what's going on with production. We typically work with bigger businesses, but at the end of the day, for us and me personally, I always try to help and provide as much value as possible. That's really our goal here at Sourcify. So that was a bit about my background right there. I've invented my own products. I've run Kickstarter campaigns. I've been an e-commerce entrepreneur myself, so I know the ins and outs of what it takes to actually grow one of these businesses. And now I focus, obviously on sourcing, manufacturing side through Sourcify. So, what you'll learn today pretty much is keys to optimize your supply chain, the differences between factories, trading companies, and sourcing agents, ways to benchmark unit costs, and one massive hack to saving money when importing. I'm gonna, probably jump through this, relatively at a high velocity. I mean, I usually talk pretty fast, so if there's anything that you want me to pause on, just give me a heads up on. And just a heads up for everyone, I do have a hard stop at 7:30, but really I think the key, or 7:30 a.m., which is 4:30 p.m. your time. It's still in the morning here in China, everyone. There's
Good
a
morning.
bit of a time.
Nathan, can you make your screen a little bigger, by the way?
Oh yeah, let me do that. Here, let's
go
go
full screen. I also see you're going to Hong Kong soon, it looks like.
Oh yeah, if I'm not looking at factories, I'm looking at flights.
Yeah. Yeah, we should have you out of here in 30 minutes at 100%.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, just, want to leave enough time for Q&A, and, so if there are questions, definitely pop them in there. But, overall, when we look at a supply chain, we take a 3-pillar approach. We got to understand, price, quality, and lead time. Everyone wants the best price, they want the best quality, and they want the best lead time. But at the end of the day, you really aren't going to get the best of all 3 worlds. You got to decide, okay, do I want to produce the highest quality products? Do I want the best lead time? order I want the best price. And I think at the end of the day, that really revolves around what your brand is known for. If you're known for cheaper products that, you can get at a value, you might not have the highest quality, but if you're known for the highest quality products, obviously your unit cost might be a bit higher. From a, manufacturing standpoint, really, I think the key to understanding, hey, what product should I produce stem from interest. Are you actually personally interested in this product? Number two would be margin. I would say most, of the top 10 Shopify stores are running at a, at least 80 to, 85+% gross margin, meaning if they're selling a product for $100, or they are producing it for under $10 or less. I mean, there's even some stores that are running at 90% plus gross margins, and that's because there's a lot of costs to running an e-commerce store. As you learn through, Derek and this whole community here, there's a lot that goes into growing a e-commerce brand, and having that gross margin from a supply chain standpoint is so important to be able to do that. And last but not least, I would say complexity. You have a lot of people that are going out and saying, hey, I'm gonna, invent this completely new type of product. And what's the investment that, is required to go out and invent that product? You probably have to deal with a mold, which costs, usually tens of thousands of dollars. At times you might need patents. I mean, if you're just starting out and you're trying to produce a complex product, chances are, you're biting off quite a bit to chew. With that said, molds, though they might seem expensive, let's say, in this case, you've got a $15,000 mold. You can actually break down the cost of saying, hey, I'm going to sell the product for $100. It's got an 80% gross margin. So I know my, all-in cost after taxes, logistics, et cetera, is $30. I've got a $70 profit before my cost per acquisitions. And let's say you have an average CPA of $20. Your net profit is going to be $50. So you only need to sell 300 units to break even on that mold. And now you have your own product. You've got a product that people can't easily copy because it is your own mold. And so at the end of the day, sometimes molds are definitely worth it. And then we do have a, kind of return on mold formula that I'll forward over to Derek if you guys want to check it out after. But
just shared it in chat. I've got the link.
Okay, awesome, cool. But if it's a new product, really the first step is trying to find manufacturers that, have produced products that are similar to what you're looking to produce on the market. But I think at the end of the day, really one of the keys there is also going on, different e-commerce marketplaces like Amazon and reading the negative reviews, trying to understand, well, how can I improve this product? How can I make this better? What do people not like in this product? And taking that approach to, really creating something new and innovative. I think the first key question that you're gonna have to ask when you're trying to find a factory, and if you're just starting out, I mean, honestly, just go on, the manufacturing marketplaces out there, Alibaba, Global Sources. The challenge with these sites, though, is you're gonna have to understand, are they a trading company, actually a factory, a wholesaler? And so here we're gonna dive into, really the main differences. If they're a trading company, they're taking their own margin, meaning they don't necessarily own the factory. I mean, though there are some factories that are joint with trading companies, typically a trading company is basically a middleman that, is gonna offer a wide array of products. So if you want to have a e-commerce store that has a lot of SKUs, this could be a good approach, but typically there's not going to be as much customization. You might have lower minimums, which would be nice because this trading company might, group together a bunch of different e-commerce companies to produce at a factory. The challenge, though, it's going to be hard to access the factory, and liability will really come up in question. Let's say if there's a quality problem or something goes wrong in production, the trading company is going to say the factory's liable, the factory's going to say the trading company's liable, and it becomes a pretty big mess pretty quickly. And they can also disappear. There's trading companies that, might not be around tomorrow, whereas, a factory, typically they at least have their own facility that is going to be harder to move and disappear. A wholesaler, these are nice because typically they have foreign representation. They might have offices in America or Europe. They're going to have a higher price because typically they're importing the product into that country. They, obviously don't have their own real factory, and there's very little customization that they can do at their own warehouse or facility, there domestically. I think the best bet, whenever you're trying to start your own brand or private label business, is to find a factory that you really trust and want to build a relationship with. there's definitely a bit of a higher risk, but also a much higher margin because, you're going to be paying upfront for inventory. Usually until you grow, with a few purchase orders with that factory, you aren't going to get payment terms. And then you also have to consider production lead time. Lead times I would say are anywhere from like 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the volume, depending on the product. There's a lot of variables that go into it. But the beauty of, factories is that, you have completely custom products. So you can really, produce whatever you want. I mean, it's pretty incredible just to be able to, look at a jacket and say, I want my zippers like this. I want, the inside seam like this. I mean, there's just an unlimited amount of iterations you can have on a product when you're working with a factory. And I think that's part of the excitement that I see in manufacturing. Another question you're going to ask, there's a lot of sourcing agents out there. For the most part, I would say, you're going to want to try to work, directly with the factory. And that's, really what we believe at Sourcify. But, there's sourcing agents that create value up and down the supply chain. And I also would add now in the global trade environment that, producing products outside of China, like in Vietnam or India, the infrastructure there is to a point where you don't, like you need to have boots on the ground there. You either have to be going there to build out the infrastructure and build a relationship with that factory, or you're going to need an agent there to watch your goods and really liaison between you and the factory, because there are I would say more quality issues and challenges with production outside of China than in China. But the goal with any sourcing agent is to enable them to create value up and down the supply chain. Are they helping you negotiate pricing? Are they helping you manage quality? Are they helping with logistics? Who have they worked with in the past? What are the kind of culture connotations of working with them? Are they getting paid under the table by the factory to send them business? These are all questions that you seriously have to ask, because obviously in Asia, doing business here is a bit different than in the Western world. So I would say, right off the bat, there's 5 key questions you're going to want to ask your sourcing agents. First off, what other products have you produced in this category? Hopefully they've produced products that are, similar or up the same alley. How is your payment structure set up? You always want to work with the agent. If you are going to work with the agent, that's transparent. You don't want them taking, 5-10% under the table. You want to say, hey, I just, hopefully it's an agent that just charges a few percentage points or $500 or $1,000, whatever it may be. They handle quality control. Ask what that process is. Can you have a reference or two from them of people they've worked with in the past? And, really, I think at the end of the day, transparency. If you go to your agent and say, hey, I want to go meet the factory, are they going to be hesitant of letting you meet with the factory? Number 3 is super important here. A product is actually made up of different component costs. So, if you are manufacturing, let's say, watches, this is a great example. Each piece of that watch is going to come from a different factory. It's got the watch hands, the watch strap, the watch face, the watch movement. There's a whole supply chain behind each assembly factory. And so as a e-commerce company in America, you're typically dealing with the assembly factory that has its own supply chain. And so as you grow, what's going to become more and more important is understanding each individual component cost to have a full grasp of what's going on with each product and how's that creating this unit cost. And then even if there are problems or there becomes problems with lead times, you've got to understand, okay, well, I know that the watch hand factory is delaying production because that's what we're always waiting for at the end of the production line. So that's something that you're going to want to start to understand and consider as you grow as a e-commerce brand. Every product's going to have its weakest link. You got to figure out what's the piece in my product that often breaks and tackle that head on. Is there a problem with that supplier? Is there a problem with the design of the product? And there's usually one source that's going to typically cause most problems. And really you've got to understand, is it the material? Is it how it's interacting with other components? It's something that you're gonna have to really dive into on a case-by-case basis. At the end of the day, to try to mitigate the risk, you're going to want to keep a constant flow of this piece, potentially find another source, and plan ahead through data to fully understand what's going on. Communication methods, typically most, I would say importers are interacting over email, WeChat, Skype, WhatsApp. Keep it simple and concise. A lot of times these, team members at these factories that you're dealing with, English is obviously their second language. And always try to know more than one employee. Typically, if you're building a relationship with a factory, say, hey, by the way, who else do you work with? I'd love to, meet someone else on your team. People do obviously change jobs, and it's important to have a steady connection with that factory, even if someone does change jobs there. Another key component, and this is more on the shipping side of things, but you're going to want to test shipping methods. Third-party logistics companies are definitely, I think, the most common for a lot of these e-commerce brands. Obviously you've got Shopify fulfillment network coming out, and it'd be really interesting to see how that develops. FBA, I think is going to be a bit more expensive typically than a 3PL, but if you are selling on Amazon, to get that Prime stamp, you've got to be powered by FBA, and it makes a lot of sense. Your own warehouse, it's interesting because I've been chatting with more and more e-commerce companies that are actually warehousing themselves, and they're saying that their unit costs or their cost to warehouse, pick and pack, and really handle fulfillment is cheaper when they do it themselves. But it depends. Do you want to spend your time running a warehouse, or do you want to focus on the branding, marketing, and sales of your business? And shipping yourself. Like if you're just starting out, honestly, just go to ShipStation or Stamps.com, or I think even Shopify has plugins now that you can just print stamps on, and go to Uline, buy the packaging yourself, and start shipping out of your apartment. I mean, that's how I started my first e-commerce businesses 10 years ago, and it really helps you understand how much does it cost to actually ship these products anywhere in the world, and you're going to have a full understanding of your unit costs. So, here's kind of the typical setup of shipping methods. With a 3PL, it's going to go to a factory, either by air or sea freight to your 3PL warehouse, and then the 3PL warehouse is going to ship it to your customer. The added component with FBA is the FBA prep. Sometimes there's companies that are having this done at factories. The challenge there, obviously, is that you're teaching your factory to sell on Amazon, and so there are a lot of instances now where factories are starting to compete with their customers on Amazon, which is obviously a pretty big red flag for any e-commerce company. But at the end of the day, you've got to understand, well, where's the most effective place for me to handle FBA prep? And I think at the end of the day, you're probably wondering what's the stopping point from having my factory sell directly to consumers via Amazon. And at the end of the day, it's your brand. That's really all you own is the brand. And so I think in the e-commerce world today, you've got to invest more and more in your brand, because if you're going to compete on price, you're never going to win when you're competing on a price with a factory. Direct injection, this is a pretty cool method where basically you have a 3PL warehouse, let's say in Asia or in China by your factory, wherever it may be. The factory ships there, and then all your labeling is done at that warehouse. They pre-label the packages with your individual customers' addresses on them, ship them via air freight to America, and then it's directly injected into the shipping stream of whatever courier you're using. So let's say you're using USPS. All the labels would be on your packages. Let's say you've got 5,000 units that are being air freighted over. Those 5,000 units are individually labeled and then put into the shipping stream of USPS directly upon arrival at whatever port they arrive in America. And then you do have some 3PL offerings from Asia too. I think if you're selling more internationally, this could be an option. But for the most part, I think with just customer experience right now, handling third-party logistics in America, or at least wherever you're selling, is going to be a better bet. Fees to be aware of. These are all pretty standard. Pick and pack. Sometimes additional pick fees, storage costs, shipping costs. Shipping costs is interesting because it's actually based on the volume that these 3PLs ship with these couriers. And so they're negotiated on different rates. And so it's interesting to actually compare shipping costs sometimes and see, well, if I'm shipping this product versus this 3PL, how come they're paying 20 or 30% less than me? And that's really because their volume is so much more significant. Here's an example of just a, kind of pick and pack labor simulation where you can understand, how much is it going to cost me to pick or ship, 3,000 units or 7,000 units. And I'll send this over to Derek as well. Factory payments, one kind of neat aspect that you can start doing is try paying factories in their native currency. Sometimes you can get better rates here. Then you're handling the FX exchange. You're saving a bit on processing fees, and typically you can get better payment terms as well. This, you're probably going to start doing once you get to a larger scale. Starting off, probably just bank wire, or PayPal or Veeam, or there's a lot of solutions out there that you've got to check out. And then tools to use, Veeam, Wire, USYNO, and if you really want to get to that level, you can even set up a company in Hong Kong pretty effectively. And so here we're kind of going to dive into how to understand how to benchmark your unit cost when you're trying to expand in a new product category. So let's say Derek's trying to produce dog leashes. He goes on to Google Translate it into Chinese. He's then going to this website called 1688, which is kind of like the local Amazon of China, if you will. You paste that in, find dog leashes, and you can see, right here, the unit prices that they're selling them for in China. So you can see that one Chinese yuan is, 14 cents. And so you can find your baseline cost of what people are buying these dog leashes for at in China. And so you kind of understand, okay, well, how much should I be producing them at, or what ballpark should I be aiming to sell them at? A bonus tip here is something we discussed just briefly, but getting your vendor to ship directly to FBA. Obviously it's going to save time and money by using labor at your factory to do the prep. The bad is, you're telling your vendor who your customer is and how to do it. And the ugly is you're training them how to be you. And so to not get out of the equation, get cut out of the equation, please focus on building a brand. I think that's probably one of the most important aspects of e-commerce today. And one more thing, a lot of people when producing abroad always ask about trademarks, patents, contracts, all of that. And, they want to basically try to have protection here in China. And at the end of the day, you're going to protect everything in that regard. Usually in America, it's not going to be worth your money or time to try to protect it here. But, as long as you have contracts and non-disclosures with your factory, you should be able to, have at least some well-being here. And if you want to, have some proof of concept, just, I would file a provisional patent, test that concept, which, secures it for a year. And then if, all goes well, you can, change that provisional patent into a utility patent. But protection costs money, just because someone is, stealing your product or ripping you off, it doesn't mean they're, automatically going to be fined or taken down. You actually have to, hire a lawyer and pay for them to, go after that company that's stealing your product. Another cool trick that I like to use, when not in China, is the picture trick. So ask your sales rep at the factory to write down your name and date on a piece of paper, and simply have them go around the factory that they're claiming to produce these products at with that piece of paper and the image. So you've got an understanding, okay, at least I know that this, sales rep has access to this factory and this is what it looks like. And it, should give you more confidence to help you understand, hey, I know this is where my products are being produced. At the end of the day, I really truly believe e-commerce comes down to the numbers and the brand. Become profitable is a pretty simple formula right here, where it's, sales price minus unit cost minus your, cost of acquisition. So outside of branding, e-commerce becomes a numbers game, and there's, so many moving parts to it, but it's a lot of fun, and, enables you to grow and create some pretty cool businesses. So, what I want to give you, and I think, Derek will send this out, but our return on mold formula, sample, standard production contract, and our product profit calculator. Derek, thank you so much for having me on. I love what you've been doing at eCommerce Tech. If anyone has questions about, Sourcify or just China or manufacturing in general, feel free to reach out. And, I'm happy to answer any questions here. So I can kind of just stop sharing and see if any questions or what people are saying.
Nothing has come in as of yet. It's the end of the day. I think people have gotten a little bit exhausted over the last 14 sessions and 7 hours that we've been running. I am a little bit exhausted myself, if I'm being honest, but that was an amazing session. And just that one tip right there at the end about, how do we really build trust with people that are overseas and, like you said, could disappear in a heartbeat on us. Well, you also said making sure multiple people inside the manufacturing plant, making sure that they are really have access to it. Show me today's newspaper. Like, have you ever caught them doing a fake, like just a piece of paper and then they add dates on top?
I mean, I'm telling you, you guys would be so just surprised and blown away by the things that factories do to get away with quality problems or payment stuff. I mean, you really have to be on top of your factory relationship and working with them to make sure your products are being produced effectively.
Yeah, and that's what makes Sourcify so valuable. And you can cut through the noise, find the signal, find the right manufacturers to work with, and have that trust factor instantly. Sourcing can take months really to do right, and I don't have months. I don't think a lot of us have months to spend. I'd rather partner with Nathan if I'm being honest.
Or you can just come to China with me,
I don't know how you do it, man. I mean, speaking the language helps a lot, I think, but I feel like I'd be I would be in a
well, it's fun. So we actually brought over 2 people from our office in California, and this is their first time in China, and they're loving it. I mean, it's so cool bringing people over for the first time, and it's nice for us to be able to kind of bridge the gap between our office here in Guangzhou and our office in California. And these people have been interacting together pretty much every day for the past year and a half plus, and finally getting to meet in person. It's pretty cool to facilitate that and see it happen.
That's awesome. I love everything you're doing. Let's keep in touch. I'm sure we'll have you on another event. We can't talk enough about sourcing. It seems to be honestly neglected when it comes to e-commerce in general, and drop shipping isn't going to cut it much longer. It's on the way out, and owning the supply chain is becoming mandatory for brands. So
definitely.
Awesome. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us today.